Hey, it's been a while since I've sat down and filmed a breast pump review. I've been really focused and busy inside my Pumping for Working Moms program, which has been awesome. And we talk about a lot of pumps in there, so that's usually where I'm talking about pumps and helping people decide on what to get and how to use it and make that all work. But this little pump from Ardo, the Ardo Alyssa, I've been really impressed with, and I think it deserves its own review video, which is great. So I'm excited to share this pump with you today. There's some really unique features that I want to talk to you about, and this is actually a pretty cool little pump. So I actually bought this pump a while ago, back when it first came out. It's just been sitting here for a little while. And I ran my initial test data on it, and whenever someone asks me about it, I usually recommend it often. But I did get to talk to some of the Ardo representatives at a recent conference that I went to that I was a speaker at, and they were so kind and nice, and their products, they showed me some other products they're working on, and two, I was beyond impressed with the leaders and in their company and the quality and thought that they put into their products. Some of the little unique features, the little tiny details that you wouldn't think about, you know, having the little cap be able to go on whatever way you want in case you're right or left side pumping, like little tiny details. They made on their Calypso, I think it was, they made it so you can integrate it with some kind of orthodox timer if you didn't want to use electronics on the Sabbath or something like that. Like, just really cool stuff. Anyway, first I want to show you something really cool. So this brand and company is based out of Switzerland, and I've actually been to Switzerland, and I want to show you a couple of photos from our time there. Switzerland is absolutely incredible, and I don't know if you notice anything about these photos, but you may notice that it is very similar to the color of the Ardo Alyssa. And I actually do think that this is where they got the color from the pump, is from the beautiful landscape of Switzerland. So that doesn't really matter at all, but I thought this color is unique, right? But anyway, it's from Switzerland. Okay, let's dive into some of the specifics of this pump. This pump is very small. It's kind of like a hybrid, I think, between a tabletop pump and a portable pump. It's not quite as small as a portable pump like this, like the Baby Buddha. Okay, so it's a little bit bigger, but it's not as big as something like the Spectra. Okay, but it can hold its own with both of those pumps in some really unique ways. So just a couple basic things about this pump. First, it has stimulation mode and expression mode. You can adjust the cycle speeds in expression mode. Let me double check and see if you can do that in both modes. Yeah, you can actually adjust the cycle speeds in both modes, which is really cool. Cycle speeds is something that we need to talk more about, and I had a request in our Deep Diver membership here on YouTube to go more into cycle speeds and why that's important. So we will do that over there. If you want to join us, you can click the join button down below. But the cycle speeds of this pump go pretty fast, which is great. They go from about 70 to 105, 110, which is great. I like to see pumps that have faster cycle speeds available for you. Those tend to work better, especially in stimulation mode. Some people prefer those throughout their whole pumping session, so that's cool too. The expression mode cycles, just so you know, went from 20 to 50. Again, a really wide range, and it was impressive, right? I am going to show you one graph. Usually we save like graphs and stuff like that for inside of my program or in that deep dive membership that we do with all that extra stuff. But I do want to show you one that was actually really interesting. This is on the slowest cycle speed you can go. So this is 20 cycles per minute. And what I want you to notice is it gathers suction and then it comes down nice and gently, and then it goes right back into another cycle. So you don't really have any dead time here in your pump in between vacuum pressure. Does that make sense? So sometimes when I see a pump that, you know, has a really slow cycle speed, I'm like, okay, that's cool, but it will go burnt, burnt. You have all this dead time. So yeah, it's slow, but we want the slow ones to draw longer. Does that make sense? We want them to really pull the breast. Some people really, really like that. And then when you go the faster cycle speeds, it does have a similar shape, kind of a pause at the top before it comes down. It's kind of an interesting feature of the pump though. This pump also does come with an app, if you like that kind of thing. About a 2-hour battery life, 2-year warranty. So those things are all great. We love to hear everything like that. There are a couple of really cool things about this pump though. One is the memory button, and we have had pumps with memory buttons before. That's totally fine. But the cool thing about this one is that you can record the session that you just did. So you don't have to hit record first and then do the session how you want to remember it. If you get done with this session and you were like, oh, those settings were dynamite, I definitely want to do that again. You can just click the memory or hold the memory button, I think technically, and it saves the session, right? So you don't have to go and do it again next time to save it by starting at the beginning. So I thought that was a really cool feature too. There's also another button on the other side that looks like this. This one right here. That is a power pumping button. And this seems cool in theory. I have some mixed feelings about it, and I'll tell you why. So the power pumping button does something like this. And so it's going to go 20 minutes pumping. It's going to do a 10-minute break, 10 minutes pumping, 10-minute break, 10 minutes pumping. And what that does is it keeps it so that you don't have to do the timing yourself. The pump is just going to do the timing for you. So how I would utilize something like that would be probably to wear a pumping bra, have the flanges on. You can use this on the battery, so that's great. Stick it in your pocket or something. It doesn't have any clips or lanyards, unfortunately, but carry it around. Ooh, do you know what I would put it in? I would actually put it in this thing from Mimi and Pal, one of my favorite little bags. And this Ardo pump fits excellently. It's got little holes for the tubing to come out. And then you can just wear this around basically for like an hour, right? And let it do its thing. So then that little side hooks to your flanges. And it's like a little fanny pack thing. It's so cute. I love it. Leave it on and it's just going to do the timing for you. So if you're sitting at work in your office and you're able to leave those on, that's great. You could also hook it to cups and do the same thing if you wanted to for just around the house. The only thing is that in power pumping, I tend to prefer to take the stuff off for 10 minutes. And I don't know if I want to just like be wearing around a pump that's not on. But I guess you could unplug yourself and leave this on the table and it will start again when you're supposed to start. And maybe that would be your clue to come back and hook back up. So cool. I think just kind of like working out some logistics on how to do that would be interesting. The other thing that makes me torn about this button is power pumping is cool, but it kind of makes it seem like you should be power pumping or like that's a normal part of everyone's experience or like, oh, this button is here. That is something I should do. And I don't necessarily agree with that. Power pumping, I think, is kind of designed to mimic a baby that is feeding a lot, a cluster feeding baby. Maybe they're going through a growth spurt. Maybe they are sick or trying to increase your supply. A lot of people use it to increase your supply as well. Again, you're just like asking for more demand. You have more stimulation on the breast, and the idea is that you end up with more supply. I don't think this is the only way to increase your supply, and honestly, we really need to look at what's happening in the overall picture. Maybe power pumping is the answer for you, but it's probably like something else is going on. There's a lot that goes into pumping. We dive into that all inside my Pumping for Working Moms program. But so I do think it's a cool button, and I have seen some moms that have utilized that feature, but don't feel like it's something that you have to do, or if you're never power pumping your pumping experience, that you're doing something wrong, because I don't think that's the case. But kind of cool that they added it there. I haven't seen that on any other pump, so that's pretty unique. Okay, I'm going to tell you one of my biggest cons of this pump, and then I'm going to tell you the biggest pro that I found when I was testing this pump. Okay, so let's start with the con for me first. That would be the flange setup system. So I do like it in theory. I like that it's all lined up, so when you sit it on the table, it's not gonna like fall over. They really did put a lot of thought into how this was designed. You can also get, I haven't got to the bad part yet, this is still good stuff, I guess, but you can also get a piece to turn this into a manual pump that is actually really, really cool. I tried to find it because I thought I had one, but maybe I don't. So you take this off and you put the little manual pumper on it, and you can turn this flange setup into a manual pump. And it actually has some really cool things. You can turn it, so if you're doing a left-handed or a right-handed pump, it makes sense. So that's actually really cool. You can kind of get that all in one with just this thing. The only thing that I really don't like is the flange sizing options that we have here. Okay, so this is a 26 millimeter flange, which is too big for most people. It's also not the standard 24 size that we use with all of our inserts. So that stinks a little bit because the shape of the tunnel does kind of come downward a little bit, kind of gets narrower here. So these inserts actually do look like they kind of fit. I think it's this part down here that's really holding that in tight because it's not tight enough up here like we usually see with a 24 millimeter flange. Does that make sense? It does sit flush on the outer edge, so it might be worth a try. The only other size option, they have some bigger sizes, which is fine, but I'm seeing that most people, like over 90%, are pumping with smaller sizes than the 24. I bet it's higher than 90% maybe. It comes with a 22, so that's an interesting size. It's not my favorite setup. I definitely don't love the double hard flange. On their website, I did see that they had a 22 insert that's made for this 26 size flange. So when I was testing, I ended up just switching it over to my just like generic Spectra parts, and it works great because the tubing is very generic. You can hook whatever you want to it. So whenever you hook up parts that it didn't come with, it performs different. And so just keep that in mind. We should probably talk about that in another deep dive video, like parts hacking and how that affects performance of the pump. Okay, are you ready for this? This is my favorite part that I discovered of this pump, okay? First, for some context, the suction range of this pump, so that is like how low it can go and how high it can go, is from 21 millimeters mercury on my testing to 245, all right? And I think you might be thinking, 245? That seems kind of lame, you know? Some of these other pumps go up clear up to 300, and okay, that's cool. You got to remember that those numbers are usually single-sided pumping numbers, and when you start double pumping, that number goes down quite a bit. So let me show you an example from Spectra. This is the Spectra 1. We all know, we love this pump, blah, 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 blah. So that pump goes up to 300 millimeters mercury. It's a really strong pump. But when you start double pumping, meaning that you're pumping both sides at the same time, you can see that this suction decreases quite a bit. About 220, I guess, is the max suction. So I find that most moms are actually pumping around 150 mmHg suction. That's kind of where they're living. So I know we're kind of used to these big numbers, but they don't mean what you think they mean, I think. Anyway, something that Ardo did very specifically, and they claim this in their marketing, is that you can, on single pumping and double pumping, it's the same. All right. And at first I was like, that's a joke, because I only see that on dual motor pumps that have two motors where you can control the sides individually. So I tested it, and here's what I got. Okay. Single and double pumping was exactly the same. That's insane. So you can get, that 245, 250 mmHg even when you're double pumping. Okay. So to me, that's amazing. I only see graphs like this on wearable pumps where you have the two individual motors, right? And so they're obviously the same as two motors, or dual motor pumps, like I said, that have those two motors. So I actually had to, once I saw that graph, I had to go back and check and make sure that this was not a double motor pump. Because I'm like, how are they doing that? I don't know how they did that. Swiss technology or something, but it's amazing. So the suction capacity and capabilities on this pump were very impressive. And also within a range of safety that I am comfortable with. I don't like some of the pumps that bring the maximum suction levels up to 300 or more. I don't think it's safe to be pumping nipples on that strong of suction. So 220 to 245 is what I got on my testing. There's a little bit of room for error on that. I love that range. I love that it goes low, and I love that it goes to a level that doesn't scare me. I will say you could get double pumping. You could get more suction on this pump than you could double pumping on the Spectra 1. So it still probably has plenty, probably still too much. I don't anticipate that people are pumping on the highest levels with this pump. But very, very impressed with this little pump. I actually would recommend this to anyone that had that option if your insurance covers it, or if you're just looking at it. I have no problems with this pump. They're coming out with another pump soon too, which I'm really excited to look at, especially for lactation professionals. One other thing I did want to mention, some of the earlier versions of this pump, they had some problems with the battery. It was just not problems with the battery, just the battery sensor, the display. And some people were complaining that they could never get it fully charged, never get it up to 3 bars. As soon as it got to 3 bars and they unplugged it, it immediately went to 2. And that was just a computery technology issue, not actually a battery issue, that it just wasn't showing 3. It would just pop down to 2 as soon as you used any percent of the battery. The battery was still full though. And I think that they've fixed that little bug and updated it on pumps that you're getting now. But I just wanted to mention that because I did have someone that was kind of upset that their pump never charged. But we kind of contacted the company, and this is a thing, like it was just like a little bug that they worked out. Again, customer service is important. So far, interacting with this company, have really been impressed, both with the quality of their products and with the thoughtfulness that they're putting into it. Not every company really cares about its end user. And I don't know. Like I said, I haven't made a solo breast pump review video in a while, just because I have so many other videos and information and stuff to share with you. But this one, I did decide to make a dedicated video because I was so impressed, not only with the pump, but with the company as well. I did buy this pump, and I am not affiliated with them. I actually am not even an affiliate for them. So if you buy this pump, it doesn't benefit me at all at this moment of recording this. But I was really impressed, and I thought that it deserved a video. So I hope that helps answer some questions about the Ardo Alyssa. If you actually want to work with me and figure out how to make pumping faster and more efficient, a good pump like this is a great place to get started, and then we can figure out together how to use it best, build a schedule. I work specifically with working moms, and if you want to know more about that, there's a link below. You can schedule a call with our team. All right, I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you think on this pump down in the comments, and we'll see you on the next video.